It all starts with a fighter who hates being bored, preparing for another match. The crowd screams non-stop in the gym, while everyone already guesses who will win the fight. The two opponents start grappling on the mat, and the match gets quite intense. One of the fighters makes a quick move and grips the other's uniform with all his might. With a spectacular throw, the opponent is sent flying and lands flat on his back. A young guy with glasses watches a recording of this incredible move on his phone screen. He walks down the street thinking about how judo seems like a fun and effective sport. Even so, he feels that the fights he watches are missing some real impact. He prefers the feeling of using his own fists to settle things his own way. The problem is that his mother promised to finish him if they had to move schools again. Just remembering his mother's scary warning makes the young man freeze up, terrified on his way. He decides he definitely doesn't want to upset his mother and prefers to avoid any trouble. He shouts in the middle of the street that he will be a model student and won't fight at his new school. People around him stare, confused by his sudden outburst, but he quickly thinks that landing just one more punch before officially starting school wouldn't hurt. In a nearby alley, a poor student with glasses just took a violent kick right to the face. He falls to the ground while the bullies mock him and complain about having to hide there. The bullies split the stolen money and laugh at the defenseless boy on the floor. One of them crouches down and keeps threatening the poor guy, who is shaking with fear, unable to defend himself. The other leader of the group smokes calmly as Gyan approaches from behind. The guy smoking gets a huge jump scare when someone suddenly touches his shoulder. He turns around, extremely annoyed, wanting to know who is bold enough to interrupt him. Jian smiles in a friendly way and apologizes for interrupting their conversation. He explains he's out of fire and asks if he could borrow a lighter from them. The thugs are confused by his uniform and admit they have no idea who he is. The boy keeps smiling and insists on asking for the lighter as he walks toward them. The bully finally loses his patience and responds very rudely to the guy's request. Without thinking twice, the aggressor goes after the protagonist with a very strong punch. Jian's look changes completely, becoming extremely serious in a split second. He dodges the strike with extreme ease and prepares a devastating counterattack. Jian lands an incredibly powerful punch right on the bully's jaw. The blow is so violent that the aggressor flies backward, completely knocked out and unresponsive. The bully's body hits the ground hard, leaving the boy who was being bullied in shock. Both the victim and the other accomplice are frozen, unable to believe what they just saw. Jian pretends to be shocked by the guy's reaction and says he was only defending himself. He puts his hands on his head, faking despair at seeing the guy pass out from just one hit. But he soon calms down, thinking that since he hasn't started school yet, it shouldn't count. The other bully trembles in fear, realizing his strong friend was defeated so easily. With a scary look, Jian slowly approaches the guy left in the alley. He stares at the scared bully and asks again where the lighter is with a threatening voice. The chapter ends showing the imposing look of this mysterious and dangerous guy. At school, the teacher writes the name Park Gyan on the chalkboard to introduce the new student. Jian enters the room yawning while the teacher explains why he is wearing the old uniform. The teacher asks everyone to get along while the new kid looks for a vacant seat. In the back of the room, the guy with glasses, who was saved in the alley, looks at the door, extremely tense. He immediately remembers the scary scene he witnessed earlier with the brutal punch. The image of that impressive knockout plays through his head like a nightmare. The boy panics, realizing the monster from the alley is his new classmate. To make matters worse, the teacher tells him to show the new guy around school, leaving him terrified. The teacher notices someone is missing and calls out loudly for Jum-na-in. The girl explains, stuttering and crying, that she couldn't wake up Gong Junam because the door was locked. The teacher gets annoyed and orders her to get the student from the dorm without any more excuses. Jian finds it funny that athletes have to study so much while Subin keeps shaking beside him. Subin introduces himself shyly and says he can help the new guy with any questions about the school. Even though he is scared to death of the new guy, he finds the courage to thank him for the help in the alley. Jaeyeon pretends to be totally confused and asks who he is, making the guy in glasses feel awkward. The new kid downplays the situation, saying he didn't save anyone, and it was just a coincidence. He asks the classmate point blank to completely forget everything he saw in the alley earlier. Subin starts to think the new guy isn't so bad, and explains those bullies are from another class. He guarantees they rarely show up there, while Jaeyeon makes a funny face of boredom. The guy starts praising his classmate's strength, mimicking the incredible move that took the bully down. Receiving an extremely cold look from the new guy, he quickly apologizes for bringing it up. Jaeyeon tries to change the subject and asks if his classmate has any other real questions about the school. Suddenly, the new guy gets very close with a scary face and asks if the boy likes bread. Thinking it's a new threat, the boy almost cries in fear and offers to buy him a snack. Jaeyeon starts laughing loudly and explains he just wanted to know which bread in the cafeteria was the best. He nicknames his classmate Antenna and tells him to lead the way to the cafeteria, leaving the boy worried. While the boy laments his luck, Jaeyeon asks who Gong Junam is and why everyone talks about her. Subin is totally surprised and scared just by hearing the name of someone so famous at the school. He starts to talk about the incredible reputation the judo club has across the whole country. He explains that the school is widely known for housing the best fighters and athletes in the country. The school brings together only elite prodigies who train hard and win competitions without much effort. Among all the athletes, Gong Junam stands out as the absolute number one, a collector of trophies. She is considered an undefeated legend in the sport who has never lost a single official fight in her life. Because she defeats any opponent with ease, she became known in the country as the Judo Empress. The young man proudly shows videos of her fights on his phone, while emphasizing the girl's huge fame. Jaeyeon recognizes the video from earlier that day, but says with disdain that she is just an ordinary girl in the end. Subin is horrified by the bold comment and defends the athlete, while the new guy yawns with boredom. He whispers, desperate, warning that speaking ill of her is dangerous because everyone is terrified of upsetting her. Jaeyeon pulls his classmate's cheeks, laughing, and says that sports techniques don't work in street fights. He ridicules the titles she received and guarantees that her reputation is nothing more than a joke. The new guy brags about being the real home punch man. Just as the classroom door is forced open, Jaeyeon and his classmate look surprised toward the entrance to see who is interrupting them. The group of bullies who got beaten in the alley invades the room with dark, threatening expressions. The group leader asks if the famous judo fighter isn't there and looks around for her. They intimidate the whole class, demanding silence and threatening anyone who dares to gossip about their visit. One of the bullies points toward the back desk and shouts Subin's name with pure rage. The gang leader is surprised and furious to realize Gian is in that very same room. The bully mocks the situation and accuses the new guy of only winning the previous fight with a cowardly blow. Jaeyeon relaxes in his chair and jokes that his desk mate must be very popular to get visitors. The blonde guy yells, furious, demanding the new guy return his cigarette and lighter immediately. Jin hubs his desk mate and lies shamelessly, saying he is a good boy and doesn't know anything. He pushes poor Subin toward the aggressors, saying they can take the boy without any problems. The new guy lays down on his desk, saying not to fight and to try to get along because class is about to start. The leader of the bullies grinds his teeth in pure rage at being ignored so humiliatingly by the new guy. Completely out of his mind, the aggressor moves forward, throwing a punch with all his strength at the reclining boy. The violent blow descends fast, but ends up missing the protagonist's face as he dodges quickly. With impressive agility, Jaeyeon grabs the bully's arm, preventing any further reaction from him. He takes advantage of the opening and lands a destructive punch that sends the aggressor directly to the classroom floor. The leader of the bullies spits blood and saliva after receiving the terrible impact of Gaian's punch. Jian puts his hand on his head, worried about having to fight on his very first day of school. He complains a lot to the guys, saying they've annoyed him since early morning and forced him to fight again. Then he smiles at Subin and asks if he saw how amazing the Punch Man is. The blonde guy is completely furious and orders all his friends to attack the new guy together. In the school hallway, students start running, spreading the rumor that a fight has started in room 2. Jian dodges the punches calmly, while the crowd at the door gossips about the history of those bullies. One of the aggressors tries to land a cowardly punch from behind, but the new guy manages to dodge with style. Without giving the rival any chance, Guy on counter attacks instantly with a precise punch to the face. The students watching are open-mouthed and compare the new guy's absurd strength to Gong Junam's. They notice Jian's uniform and discover he was kicked out of a famous school focused on fights. A student reveals he heard from friends that this transfer student is a true combat machine. He explains that Jian had to switch schools after getting into a massive fight with local bullies. The students joke that the situation is almost like mirror therapy, since the bullies finally found someone worse. They say the important thing is that the mess doesn't end up on them, and they keep laughing and watching from afar. Suddenly, a cold, scary voice arises behind the crowd, ordering everyone out of the way immediately. Gong Jiyunam appears at the room door and observes in silence the scene of destruction with bodies on the floor. The atmosphere gets tense, and the students whisper, desperate, that things have gotten really serious now. Meanwhile, Jian keeps beating the other bullies without noticing the presence of the feared judo girl. Subin panics, not knowing whether to interfere or just keep shrinking into his corner. In the hall, friends comment that Junam can't fight anymore or she risks being suspended from the club. Subin feels very bad and blames himself for being a coward who can't do anything to help. At that moment, the judo empress takes a step forward, grabbing everyone's attention in the room with her voice. Subin freezes in terror while Jian turns with a serious, challenging look toward the newcomer. Junam tells the boy to move away from her desk, and he complains about her always appearing behind his back. Jian tries to push the girl away with his arm, but to his surprise, she grabs his hand with extreme speed. The new guy is in shock, realizing he was easily blocked by a girl for the first time. Before he can understand what is happening, Junam is already positioning herself to execute a judo throw. With an impeccable and fast technique, she pivots her body and throws the guy over her shoulder with great force. Jian is thrown brutally to the classroom floor, without having any chance to defend himself. He lands on his back on the school floor, completely knocked out and drooling from the impact. The students watching the scene turn pale with fear, while the girl looks at her study spot. Junam complains that her desk and chair are completely messy because of all that mess. With a dark and scary look, she asks with great rage if everyone there in the room is looking to die. A boy from another room plays calmly on his phone, ignoring the noise coming from the hallways. A student opens the door in a rush and shouts that a violent fight is happening in the next classroom. The student warns that the transfer student is wrecking all the bullies from room 2 at once. The mobile gamer decides to give a few taps on the shoulder of his friend Taeyong, who was sleeping at his desk. He explains calmly that a big mess just started in the classroom next to them. Upon hearing the fight is in Gong Junam's room, the guy with the headband wakes up scared instantly. Taeyong gets up in a rush and runs toward the door, while his friend keeps explaining the fight. The mobile gamer watches his friend run off and makes a confused face, not understanding the desperation. He calls his friend a dummy in his head, while other students keep running to watch the fight. Taeyong arrives at the scene and mixes into the crowd of onlookers who gossip about the bully's attitudes. He observes everything with great attention, trying to understand the reason for all that sudden chaos at the school. He remembers the new guy's spectacular strength and recognizes that his skill is high level. Taeyong sighs with relief, thinking to himself that display of strength really scared him. Moments before, he was walking yawning through the hall when he met Nan, who was very surprised. He asks if something is happening, and the girl reveals she was looking for Junum in the dorms. Un says she didn't find her in the room, and Taeyong warns her she must be in the gym training as always. Nan finds out about the fight in room 2 and discovers that Junum's desk ended up a complete mess. Students run through the halls commenting that the judo girl will be furious when she sees that disaster. They know very well that Junum loses control easily when people mess with her things inside the classroom. An extremely loud noise echoes through the whole school, calling the attention of all the students nearby. The chapter focuses on the dark and intimidating look of Junum, who is about to cause a major stir. Back in the present, Ji-yeon opens his eyes slowly with an expression of total shock, not understanding anything. The guy realizes he is lying on a hospital cot and wonders, confused, where he really ended up. He sits up quickly on the infirmary bed and asks Subin what happened while he was out. His classmate explains that the members of the judo club showed up and settled all the chaos that happened earlier. Subin apologizes profusely and blames himself for what happened, while the new guy demands a direct, clear answer. Ji-yeon tries to remember the combat, while observing his completely broken glasses in his classmate's hands. The guy with glasses explains that the lenses broke after being trampled by other students during the tumult. He hands over the taped-up glasses and says he bought bread at the cafeteria to try to make up for the damage. Ji-yeon surprises his classmate by revealing calmly that he actually has perfect vision and doesn't need glasses. He takes the bread happily and explains he only wore the accessory to try to look like a model and calm student. The new kid laughs at himself and recognizes that his perfect plan to be a good student failed on the first day. Subin tries to cheer him up by saying he still looked very strong and stylish defeating the bullies that way. He tries to console Ji-yeon by commenting that anyone in the world would lose a fight against the powerful Junum. The new guy stops eating and asks, indignant, if his classmate is really saying he lost that fast fight. He remembers the exact moment he was thrown humiliatingly by the girl in the middle of the classroom. Subin waves his hands, nervous, and asks his friend not to be upset because she is a national-level athlete. Ji-yeon takes a huge bite of the bread, venting all his frustration for being defeated so easily. The young man hits the infirmary bed hard and swears up and down he only fell because he was caught totally off guard. He insists that anyone would fall if they were grabbed suddenly and guarantees he is already feeling very well. Subin smiles with relief and reveals that the judo girl held his body until the end to avoid him getting hurt. Upon hearing that, Ji-yeon crushes the plastic bread wrapper with rage at feeling even more humiliated. He gets very annoyed and grumbles that the bread his classmate brought tastes horrible and is hard to swallow. Subin gets confused because the new kid keeps making up weird insect nicknames instead of using real names. Ji-yeon gives a scary smile and tells his friend to watch closely because he's going to teach the girl an unforgettable lesson. The day comes to an end with the promise that the guy with glasses won't let this humiliation go unaddressed. Meanwhile, Junum runs around the school, training hard and sweating plenty under the faint twilight light. In the gym, the coach yells at her for getting involved in a mess with students from another class. He screams, reminding the young woman that she has the dream of joining the country's national judo team. The man stomps hard on the mat and warns that her behavior can ruin her brilliant future in the sport. Junum listens to the entire lecture in silence with her head down, recognizing her mistake before her commander. The coach warns that she might lose chance to compete in the national championship if she keeps acting like that. In the other class, students whispers that something totally unprecedented is about to happen at the school. They remember that before, everyone used to run in terror just by receiving a direct, serious look from Gong Junum. But now, a brave new guy has appeared who shows absolutely no fear before the terrible judo empress. The group of students gossips, surprised to see that the new guy keeps challenging the athlete every single day. One of the guys adjusts his glasses and spreads a curious rumor about the new student's true feelings. He remembers that after taking the fatal hit, the new guy said a cliché line that left everyone quite surprised. Because of that, a funny rumor started that Juyeon would have actually fallen for the judo girl. The students shout in surprise and try to understand how anyone could like a girl so aggressive. Lying on her desk, Junam hears all the ridiculous gossip and has a vein popping on her head from embarrassment. The gossips comment that she has changed her behavior in recent days and had been visiting the infirmary on the sly. Suddenly, the classroom door is opened with force by Gyeon, who shouts, calling the girl for one more fight. He bellows, saying he couldn't sleep all night because of her, leaving the gossips embarrassed. The new guy enters determined to show all his true strength and challenges the champion in front of the whole class. The girls in the class get extremely excited, imagining a beautiful love story between the two. Jaeunam gets up annoyed and starts walking toward the exit to avoid the classmates' chatter. She leaves the classroom under the attentive eyes of everyone, who keeps whispering about her attitude. Jiyeon decides to follow the girl to the school's outer courtyard with a very serious and focused expression. He gets a sudden fright upon seeing the aggressive and fast reaction of the judo athlete as soon as she turns around. Meanwhile, in the room, the girls keep cheering and believing that the two are living a romance. In the outer courtyard, the girl executes one more spectacular judo throw against the cheeky protagonist. Jaeyeon is thrown to the ground with force, landing on his back on the school's stone courtyard floor. Junam hides her face in embarrassment, hoping no one watched that awkward scene. She points her finger, very annoyed, and asks if he has gone crazy for saying such nonsense in front of everyone. The girl yells, threatening to finish him if he keeps saying lies. While Subin spies on everything, hidden, the guy with glasses thanks in silence for having no one nearby to see that new humiliation of his friend. Subin runs to help Jiyeon, who keeps lying on the grass under the attentive eyes of other veterans. The judo captain finds the new guy's determination funny, but Taeyong warns that he should intervene in the fight. The veteran remembers that the judo club is already talked about poorly, and that Junam might end up being truly suspended. The captain says he knows the rules, but highlights that it is the new guy who keeps challenging the girl all the time. Even so, the club leader admits that he liked the courage and the out of the ordinary resistance Jiyeon possesses. Jiyeon sits on the grass, inconsolable, and asks himself why on earth he can't defeat that girl. Subin responds that that is obvious since the new guy knows nothing about judo, and she is a perfect fighter. Later, the two are punished by the teacher after being caught talking again during class. Even with his hands up, Jiyeon asks his classmate if he knows any secret to winning the combat. Subin whispers back, explaining that to defeat Junam, he needs to keep his center of gravity firm. The new guy finds the advice strange while his friend explains the judo is focused on throwing the opponent to the floor. The boy says he needs to be flexible and react according to the opponent's strength to not fall easily. Jiyeon finds the theory too complicated and says he prefers to just resist the attacks and land a precise punch. The guy with glasses insists and asks his friend to try to imagine the fight as if it were an ocean wave. The new guy finds that explanation a big bunch of nonsense and can't understand anything the friend is talking about. He gets very confused, trying to imagine the crazy wave metaphor the classmate suggested. Subin explains that trying to just resist the opponent's strength will cause him to be swallowed by the wave. He says the secret is to surf the wave, using the opponent's strength to his advantage to go much further. The boy asserts that judo works exactly the same way, and that hitting the strength head on is a mistake. He concludes by saying it is necessary to change direction fast and use the opponent's own weight against him. During the night, Jiyeon lies in his bed and watches Junam's fight videos to analyze her movements. The next day, the guy goes straight to the school courtyard, focused on putting his new strategy into practice. He finds the girl walking through the courtyard and challenges her again out loud, grabbing everyone's attention. Junam turns, very tired of the new guy's insistence, and prepares to throw him to the ground one more time. The athlete advances fast and grabs the guy's uniform, starting one more death, defying judo move with ease. She yells, extremely annoyed, asking if he really wants to die for continuing to bother her like that. Junam tries to throw the young man but notices, surprised, that he is resisting much more than the other times. Jin remembers his classmate's advice and decides to grip the girl's arm firmly to control the move. He plants his foot on the ground with force, and side to side he will hold her attacks with all his energy. Subin and the judo captain watch the dispute from afar, extremely surprised by the new guy's resistance. Nai-in also watches the fight, paralyzed in shock to see that Junam couldn't knock him down quickly. Jin forces his body and decides to resist until the end, holding the girl with all his determination. Junam notices, astonished, that the guy managed to shift his center of gravity in a split second. The new guy smiles victoriously and shouts to his classmate, asking if he saw how he managed to stop the attack. He mocks the athlete's perfect reputation and reveals that his only mistake in the past was lowering his guard. With all his strength, Jin takes advantage of the girl's imbalance and lifts her into the air to return the favor. The spectators are open-mouthed and unresponsive to see that the feared empress is about to fall. Jin throws the girl against the ground with violence, applying a perfect and unforgettable revenge. Ji-yeon shouts that his only weakness in the past was distraction, while he tries to lift the opponent with all his might. The spectators watch the scene tense, while the guy announces he will pay her back in kind. He shouts with all the strength in the world, while preparing to throw the girl straight onto the courtyard floor. Junam notices that the guy is heavier than she imagined, but manages to stay calm in the midst of danger. With unbelievable reflexes, the judo girl leans on his body and prepares a counter attack in the air. Jion's foot slips on his sneaker suddenly, causing him to completely lose his balance. Junam's perfect technique kicks in again, and the new guy ends up flipped upside down. Ji-yeon is thrown straight into the school's flower bed, suffering one more humiliating and painful defeat. Fallen in the middle of the plants, he laments a lot and grumbles in silence for not managing to react in time. Junam observes the boy on the floor with a serious expression, but demonstrates she is a bit tired of the insistence. The judo club captain just observes the scene with a calm smile, finding the whole situation fun. Suddenly, a loud sound calls everyone's attention, indicating the arrival of a very angry school authority. The dean sighs deeply upon seeing the mess the two caused in the school's outer courtyard. The chapter shows the imposing look of the two rivals, who keep fighting every time they meet. The dean adjusts her glasses and starts giving a lecture, saying the judo club is focused on violence. She complains about the lack of education and morals of the young people, accusing the two of acting like delinquents. The woman faces Junam with great anger and remembers she had already warned about serious punishments for fights. She threatens to ban the girl from participating in the national championship, which leaves the athlete scared instantly. Junam lowers her head, very sad with the championship threat, and apologizes for the previous behavior. The dean continues speechifying about dignity and says she doesn't care if they are athletes or medalists. Jion tries to intervene in a friendly way and offers to clean up all the mess of the destroyed flower bed. The woman yells, furious, telling the guy to shut his mouth, and says he has no dignity to speak there. She continues humiliating the two, saying that dignity comes from outside and depends on how the person was raised. The dean makes a very mean insult about Junam's family, leaving the girl extremely hurt. Jion notices the malice of the statement and gets indignant, while the girl prefers to just apologize with her head down. Junam responds ironically, saying that all her lack of education was learned from the dean herself. She faces the woman with a very cold and firm look, saying that she still has much to learn about rudeness. The dean is left speechless and red with rage after being talked back to with such intelligence by the young athlete. She screams the student's name out of her mind when the door is opened suddenly by the judo club captain. Captain Haxian enters the room smiling and asks for a minute to talk and settle all that mess. Ji-Ian and Junam wait in the hall in silence while the captain talks with the angry dean. The new guy grumbles a lot, complaining about the exaggerated behavior of the teachers at that new school. He tries to start a conversation in a relaxed way, but the girl keeps ignoring his presence completely. The captain leaves the room, thanking the dean, who responds very sympathetically and fawningly because of his father. Haxion approaches the two, clapping his hands, and says it is time to resolve and define the punishment they received. He reveals that he managed to avoid suspension and that their punishment will be to perform community service at the school. Junam lets out a long sigh, discouraged by the task, while Ji-In makes a face of great dissatisfaction. The captain warns that she will have to train hard after the service, and since she was the one who caused all that mess. He asks if she has anything to say, and the girl thanks the veteran respectfully for the big help from earlier. Ji-In finds the way she spoke strange, while the young woman says goodbye and starts walking back to her room. The new guy comments that the girl seems quite annoyed, while the captain just observes her behavior. Haxian explains that she trains obsessively every single day, and that's why she hates losing useful training time. Jian decides that it is also time for him to go and prepares to turn his back and head to his room. However, the captain grabs him by his shirt collar suddenly, preventing the guy from continuing to walk down the hall. The captain gives a mysterious smirk, demonstrating he has a great interest in the troublemaking new guy. Haxian asks Jian directly if he wouldn't like to join the club and try practicing judo. The new guy turns, extremely surprised and confused, not understanding the reason for that unexpected invitation from the veteran. While they clean the flower bed as punishment, the captain explains he had been observing his fights with Junam. He praises the guy's courage and natural talent for fights, guaranteeing that he would do very well in the sport. Ji-Ion laughs alone while pulling weeds, bragging about having incredible talent for that. He remembers the captain's invitation and asks himself why on earth he should start practicing judo. At that moment, he responded directly to Haxion that he had no interest in that type of sport. The captain finds it a shame and asks the new guy to stop getting into trouble with Junam from now on. Ji-Ion is left confused and questions what one thing has to do with the other. Haxian explains that he doesn't care about normal fights between students at the school, but highlights that Junam is striving to the max to overcome her own limits. Her look carries a very deep determination filled with mysteries. Back to work, Ji-Ion gets quite annoyed while trying to pull out a very persistent root from the ground. Twilight begins to fall over the school while they continue serving the punishment. After finishing the task, the two walk in absolute silence through the courtyard. The girl moves forward, completely ignoring the presence of the new guy right behind her. The judo club captain says he needs to start acting like a true leader. He challenges the boy, saying that if he really wants to face Junam, he should go to the judo club. He says goodbye in a cheerful way, remembering that the new guy will be welcome if he fights by the official rules. Ji-Ion walks away annoyed, finding this story of using official rules for a fight ridiculous. Junam also follows her path, thinking about what the difference would be between fighting inside or outside the club. He asks himself what exactly the girl is trying to face with so much obsession. Jian then breaks the silence and shouts, calling his rival to settle the score with a fight right now. She keeps walking with her back turned, without demonstrating any reaction to his call. He insists, shouting that she shouldn't back down, just because of the lecture they received in the dean's office. The boy runs toward her, irritated, and shouts once more, demanding direct combat. He throws a quick punch, but the girl dodges the blow with an extremely agile move. Ji-Ion backs away, scared, realizing that by very little he wasn't hit by a counter attack from her. She faces him with a serious look and tells him to hit her once and for all. The guy gets completely confused, not understanding that unexpected reaction from the rival. Junam repeats coldly for him to hit her and go away since that was what he wanted so much. He lets out a sarcastic laugh, feeling that his pride was completely crushed by her proposal. The girl says she sees no fun in it, and that she is just making the victory easy for him. He gets furious with her attitude and says he doesn't know what kind of world she lives in. She warns that she has too many problems to solve and gives him the option to hit her or walk away. Ji-yeon faces her with much rage before the girl's irritating indifference. He remembers again the captain's words about her effort and her internal struggles. Unable to hit her like that, the boy shouts in pure frustration in the middle of the courtyard. Junam turns, coldly saying that she gave the opportunity and that he made his choice. She walks away, leaving the clear warning for him never to appear in front of her again. The new guy remains standing alone on the court while the sun sets completely on the horizon. He scratches his head, extremely bothered by the ridiculous situation he'd got himself into. His red eyes shine with a renewed determination, filled with indignation. The boy makes a decision and starts walking, determined, toward the school gym. Ji-yeon still grumbles a lot, dissatisfied for having to give in to that silly idea. He questions himself about what the big secret of judo would be, and why everyone is obsessed with it. He remembers his classmate warning that his lack of judo knowledge would be a big problem. The boy sighs, frustrated, before taking the next step toward the sports club. He decides that thinking too much doesn't go with his style and resolves to act in a direct way. Ji-yeon opens the door with force and enters, shouting that the conversation with Ji-yeon hasn't finished yet. He shouts for everyone to hear that he will fight and defeat the rival in her own territory. But before continuing, he is grabbed by the shoulder by someone very strong who complains about his persistence. Without time to react, the guy is thrown brutally to the floor with a perfect judo throw. The aggressor pins him to the ground, remembering coldly that that place is not an ordinary classroom. Taeyoung warns coldly that that location is strictly off limits to outsiders. Ji-yeon tries to break free but realizes that the opponent's physical strength is absurdly overwhelming. The veteran grips the new guy's collar even tighter, making it clear that the rules are quite different. He reinforces the order with a very serious look, saying civilians shouldn't be in that location. The other students start whispering, surprised to see that Taeyoung seems really annoyed. The club captain finds the situation funny, while the coach arrives, shouting for everyone to train. Haxian explains that he told the new guy to go there if he really wanted to fight Junam. Taeyoung keeps holding the guy and tells him to leave immediately before things get worse. The captain suggests the new guy seems to have the ideal weight to face the skilled Taeyoung. The coach yells, furious, wanting to know the reason for all that mess at the gym entrance. Jian ignores the warnings and points to Junam, demanding she appear to fight him now. The coach warns that on that mat all the differences between students must be resolved with judo. He completes by saying that if the new guy wants to fight, he will have to pass an admission test first. The boy wears the borrowed uniform and the captain praises, saying he looked very good in those clothes. However, everyone is astonished to notice the completely wrong way he tied his belt. Taeyoung complains about having to fight a beginner, but the coach tells him to take it easy on the test. The coach warns that the boy will be able to fight whoever he wants at school if he manages to pass this test. The rule is simple, and it is enough to throw Taeyoung to the floor just once in the 5-minute time limit. The veteran performs the traditional salute of respect before the combat, while the new guy is left confused. The two prepare in the combat stance, while the safety rules are recalled in the arena. Ji-yeon assumes a very awkward combat base, leaving his complete lack of technique evident. Taeyoung notices the unusual position of his hands and asks if by chance he is left-handed for fighting. The new guy gives a confident smile and responds that doesn't matter one bit for their combat. As soon as the start signal is given, Jian advances quickly, trying to shorten the distance to attack. He projects his body forward with all his speed in an attempt to grab the opponent. However, the opponent moves with ease, dodging the direct grab without any type of effort. Jian loses his balance totally and ends up falling straight on his back on the mat in a humiliating way. Taeyong just looks at him on the floor calmly and suggests for him to keep his cool in the combat. The boy gets up furious and advances again, determined to manage to grab the rival at any cost. He manages to grab the veteran's robes, putting all his strength into the grip of his right hand. Taeyong maintains his calm and concentrated expression, even with the firm grip of the guy on his uniform. With an impeccable technical move, the veteran uses the weight of the new guy himself to initiate a projection. The blow is dealt with perfection and Jian is thrown with force against the gym's mat. Fallen on the floor, the boy moans in pain while the rival questions if he is really trying to fight for real. Taeyong fixes his hair and comments calmly that he is indeed trying, while the new guy does nothing. Jian gets up with rage, shouting to restart the fight, and runs toward the opponent again. In the bleachers, the other athletes observe the fight and comment on the immense talent of the veteran. One of them looks at the phone and scoffs, saying that the club fighter almost never shows up for daily trainings. The classmate next to him scolds him sharply, explaining that his bad results are pure lack of will. He remembers that Junam won in the female category and Taeyong conquered the top in the male national category. The national champion observes the boy on the floor with boredom, finding that whole situation very tiring. Jian breathes with great difficulty, lying on the mat, questioning himself about what he is doing there. The stopwatch marks just over 2 minutes remaining while he is thrown one more time to the floor. He realizes, frustrated, that nothing seems to go right in his life since he was transferred to that new school. Taken by rage, the new guy loses his mind completely and prepares a punch to hit the adversary. He tries to land the blow, breaking the rules of the sport while expressing all his indignation in the fight. Taeyong notices the infraction and dodges with mastery, applying a quick sweep to knock him down. The boy is thrown into the air again, feeling that he hates being underestimated more than anything else in the world. Fallen on his back one more time, he thinks he could simply give up everything and leave there now. The veteran then points at him and shouts to the coach, warning that the boy tried to throw illegal punches. The coach gives a heavy scolding and warns that the next illegal blow will result in immediate disqualification. Jian keeps grumbling on the floor while the captain asks if he has practiced boxing previously. The boy gets scared by the sudden approach of the veteran and complains for him acting as if they were friends. He shouts, irritated, saying he never trained boxing while Haxian just laughs at his funny reaction. The captain explains patiently that that is not an official fight and that he only needs to knock down the rival. Haxian advises the guy to use his own moves instead of trying to invent judo techniques. Taeyong points to the two, complaining about the side conversation while Jian prepares to attack again. The new guy breathes deeply, trying to concentrate to find an opening in the impeccable defense of the opponent. Junam observes silently from the bleachers, with a serious expression, attentive to the unfolding of the test. Jihyun decides he will fight in his own way and assumes again a firm combat stance. All those present in the arena observe the scene, intrigued and surprised by the guy's unusual boldness. They notice his base is too high and comment, he will be easily knocked down like that. The restart signal is given in Taeyong's size, finding all that confrontation a big waste of time. Jian simulates a direct punch, leaving the adversary confused and scared by the unexpected move. The boy knows that if he is caught he will keep falling, so he decides to risk everything with that quick feat. He reveals laughing that the punch was just a distraction to manage to get close without being blocked. He dives quickly under Taeyong's arms, trying to grab the waist of the opponent. The veteran is surprised to realize that the new guy's speed is much greater than he imagined. Jian celebrates mentally and decides he will hold firm to push the rival with all his strength. He positions his feet on the mat, searching for the necessary firmness to manage to displace the opponent. The coach and the other athletes watch attentively, waiting to see the outcome of the boy's move. The new guy tries to apply a sweep, returning in the same coin the falls he suffered previously. He shouts, putting all his energy into the attack, while he forces the body of the adversary backward. However, Taeyong maintains his cool even under extreme pressure and prepares for the counter-attack. With extreme mastery, the veteran uses the momentum of the push to throw the guy in the air with force. Jian's body hits the ground with a violent crash, while the scoreboard shows a few seconds. He stays fallen on his back, exhausted, while noticing that just 5 seconds remain for the end of the test. Taeyong approaches and asks calmly what he intends to do before that lost situation. The boy punches the mat, irritated, letting out a scream of frustration for his lack of skill. The coach interrupts the combat, shouting, furious with the undisciplined attitudes of the guy in the fight. He explains the errors of the boy's posture, who just complains mentally for not understanding anything of that. The two start arguing at shouts, with Gyan claiming he knows nothing about the sport's rules. At the control desk, the captain finds the lecture funny while Subin analyzes coldly the lack of technique. Subin questions the reason for testing someone who demonstrates having no interest in judo. Exeon says for him not to be so negative and highlights that the new guy is indeed trying for real. The captain asks to just watch the end of the fight, for he feels they will have a good show ahead. Taeyong asks if he still wants to keep fighting and suggests in a friendly way for him to give up the test. Jian gets up, saying that he understood everything wrong and that he doesn't care about joining the club. He reveals that that is purely a question of self-pride, leaving the opponent quite confused. The new guy affirms with determination that if 5 seconds remain, he will fight until the last instant of time. Points at the rival, guaranteeing that he will keep coming back to face him until he manages to win the fight. Jiyunam and Taeyong just listen in silence to that surprising declaration of war from the new student. Jiaeon prepares for the final attack, demonstrating an impressive willpower in his eyes. He guarantees that he will make his name be remembered by them, whether inside the school or in the middle of the street. Taeyong notices his seriousness and admits mentally that he didn't like that tone one bit. The veteran laments that things get more problematic because it would be easier if the boy gave up. He faces the adversary, thoughtful, without understanding the reason for him to be taking that dispute so far. The stopwatch marks the final moments, while the champion's mind seeks the best way to finish that. He decides to act in the most rational and least tiring way possible to end the test at once. The referee gives the restart signal for the 5 final seconds of the admission test. In a completely unexpected way, Taeyong deals a direct punch to Jiayan's face. All those present in the gym are absolutely shocked by the unsportsmanlike attitude of the veteran. The stopwatch zeroes out, marking the end of the combat, while the captain just observes the situation, laughing. The students who were watching the fight are left without reaction before that bizarre outcome of the test. Jiayan collapses again on the mat, without understanding the reason for having been assaulted in that way. He rests his hands on the ground, completely dazed, while the sound signal indicates the end of the time. Taeyong raises his hand and declares out loud that he is giving up officially from that combat. Then, the veteran bows respectfully before the boy who keeps falling on the floor. He congratulates the new guy on the approval in the test, since the disqualification guaranteed his victory. Taeyong prefers to lose by disqualification to avoid the boy becoming a headache in the club. Jian shouts, furious, telling the rival to come back while the official scoreboard declares his victory by default. The next day, the heavy training routine keeps being intense inside the school's sports gym. The day dawns sunny, and the news about the new member of the club starts to spread quickly. Classmates surround Jian's desk to ask if it is true that he joined judo. He denies at shouts, extremely irritated, while Subin is left surprised and confused by his response. Subin comments on the rumors that he won by default, and the guy gets irritated with the friend's ironic tone. Jiayan rests his face on his hand, thoughtful, remembering his only initial goal was to defeat Junam. He remembers with much rage the humiliation in the locker room and swears that he has no interest in joining the club. The boy throws his clothes in the locker, promising that next time he will defeat Taeyong the same way. He holds the judo uniform, thoughtful, feeling a strange restlessness take over his thoughts. With a serious look, he realizes that defeat moved his pride much more than he would like. Jian tightens the fabric of the uniform in his hands while he mentally reviews the moments of yesterday's fight. He recalls in detail every move and how he was easily thrown by the two adversaries. The guy starts to simulate the correct positions, realizing that he could knock down the rival if he used the technique. He smiles, animated, thinking that the sport is not so difficult and that he could win in a next attempt. Suddenly, the captain appears by surprise in the locker room, asking if he finally started to like judo. Scared, Jian slaps his own face, trying to push away those absurd thoughts from his mind. He grumbles in class, saying that he is already strong enough and that he doesn't need to practice any stupid sport. His eyes shine with a silent determination while he tries to focus on the school tasks of the day. In the classroom, other students start to notice the sudden absence of the judo club members. Someone comments that they heard the whole team of school athletes would have an important competition today. Jian rests his chin on his hand, demonstrating disinterest, but listens attentively to every detail of the conversation. Suddenly, his cell phone starts to vibrate in his pants pocket, calling the guy's attention early in the morning. He takes out the device and answers the phone call in a lazy way and without much patience to speak. A voice on the other side of the line asks directly when he intends to fill out the registration form. The interlocutor identifies himself as the judo captain, leaving Jian extremely surprised and scared. The boy is left paralyzed in terror while he asks himself how on earth that veteran managed to get his number. He reinforces that he won't join the club, but Haxin warns that he will have to take drastic measures if he refuses. Irritated with the scary persistence of the guy, Jian hangs up the phone on the captain. Without hesitating, he grumbles, calling the veteran crazy while Subin asks, scared, if it was really the club leader. Subin is left very impressed with the important contacts of his friend, who feigns habit in a proud way. Suddenly, the classroom door opens, calling the attention and scaring all the students present. Jian tries to talk his way out with Subin, while he notices the approach of mysterious men wearing black suits. One of the men in a suit approaches his desk, asking politely if he is the student Park Gyan. The boy and his friend look up, completely confused and sweating cold with that intimidating presence. The man with glasses asks for permission politely and signals for the other security guards to act quickly. Without any chance to react, Jian is carried out of the school by the men and placed inside a car. Sitting in the back seat surrounded by security guards, the guy is left in shock, not understanding what is happening there. He is taken to an unknown location in the open air and asks himself, anguished, the reason for all that. Jian finally arrives at the destination totally confused and runs into Haxion smiling. The boy complains, saying that was a kidnapping, but the man in the suit just says goodbye. Haxion holds him by the neck, joking that he was taking too long to decide. Jian demands an explanation, but the veteran just says for him to open his eyes and observe. Some students with judo clothes start to notice the arrival of Inhai school at the location. Everyone around starts gossiping about an incredible female fighter who totally dominates the category. The guy finally realizes he was dragged to watch a big judo championship. The veteran guarantees with a smile on his face that he won't regret being there today. Jiunam waits for the start of the combats with an extremely focused and intimidating look. The arena is packed with several fights happening at the same time in the center of the gym. Jian is left surprised by the public while Haxion is greeted by other athletes. A classmate warns that Un's fight started and Haxion jokes about having brought the new guy. Haxion tells the boy to greet the others, but Jihoon warns he shouldn't act alone. Captain Jihoon scolds Haxion, charging him to give a good example as team leader. Haxion ignores the scolding in a good, humored way and focuses everyone's attention on the fight that begins. The group leans on the railing of the bleachers to follow closely the teammates' performance. Jaehyun observes attentively the arena and recognizes the girl who is about to fight on the mat. Nae-yun initiates the judo combat by holding firmly the kimono of her taller opponent. The guy analyzes the fight and thinks the teammate is at a disadvantage because of the size difference. He believes the girl will be thrown easily if she keeps being dominated that way. Suddenly, Nae-yun reacts with extreme agility and surprises the adversary with a counter-attack. With a quick move, she applies a strong blow and throws the opponent straight against the ground. Jaehyun is left impressed by the girl's strength and asks himself how she managed such a feat. Haxian explains the technique used and provokes the new guy, remembering he tried something similar before. The young man gets irritated with the provocation, while Captain Ji-hoon says goodbye to prepare himself. The veteran wishes good luck to his friend in the grand final that is about to happen. Jaehyun asks if Ji-hoon is really good and Haxian promises to tell a funny detail. He points to a guy sleeping in the bleachers and reveals he has already been eliminated from the tournament. The veteran tells laughing that the subject lost because he stayed distracted watching the other fight. He ended up suffering 3 punishments in a row from the judge for pure lack of attention in the combat. Jaehyun reacts with mockery, finding ridiculous the way the competitor ended up being disqualified. He says, laughing that he would easily defeat a guy like that if he learned to fight for real. Haxian takes advantage of the opening to ask when the trainings start, but the guy backs out instantly. Laughing, the veteran says for him to just watch and see how judo can be very fun. Ji-hoon enters the mat and wins his combat in a devastating way with a nice hip throw. Jaehyun admits that the captain is good at the sport, while Haxian celebrates a lot the victory. Next, the team suffers a defeat in another category after a well-executed projection. The new guy laments that it was by a little, while the veteran is left visibly frustrated. One more victory is conquered by the team through an arm bar very well fitted. Another member of the team guarantees the victory by finishing the adversary with a stranglehold. Impressed, the boy realizes the great variety of blows that can be used in the fight. He starts to think that the sport is much more interesting than he imagined previously. Suddenly, the bleachers start to stir, and people run to film the next combat. Jaehyun is left confused with the sudden uproar, but Haxian says, smiling, that he will soon understand. The boy tries to see who is entering the combat area to cause so much interest. Finally sees the competitor walking determined toward the center of the mat. The young man is left completely static and without reaction upon recognizing the person before him. He realizes immediately that it is about Ji-hoon, the rival that he wanted so much to overcome. The atmosphere of the gym changes completely when the girl prepares to start her fight. The judge gives the signal and initiates the combat of Ji-hoon, who also is part of the judo club. Ji-hoon starts the dispute looking for the ideal grip on the kimono of her adversary. From the bleachers, Jaehyun focuses his eyes on the rival to not lose any move. The girl moves quickly through the mat, trying to unbalance the opponent. Ji-hoon's determined look shows that she is totally focused on the victory. Her feet move with incredible precision. While she prepares her strategy, the fighter advances with surprising speed, looking for an opening in the defense. The opponent gets scared upon noticing the fast and aggressive approach of Ji-hoon. They swap quick steps on the fight area, looking for the best angle. Ji-hoon initiates the entry of a strong leg blow to knock down the adversary. Ji-hoon watches everything in absolute silence, extremely concentrated on the combat. The girl executes the throw with mastery, using all the strength of her hip. The opponent is projected through the air and lands on her back on the mat, decreeing the opponent. The crowd goes wild in the bleachers, while Jaehyun is left speechless. The guy opens a smirk, seeming finally excited about the sport. Haxian approaches the boy with a proud smile to see his reaction. The veteran asks in a fun way if the sport doesn't seem very cool. After the end of the fights, the group leaves the gym complaining of much hunger at the end of the day. Jaehyun asks to leave soon, but the others warn that they need to wait for the coach. Taeyoung tries to joke, saying that Ji-hoon only won the gold medal thanks to him. The girl beside denies the veteran instantly, while Gyeon calls the rival. Jiunam turns a bit surprised upon hearing the boy calling her name at the exit dots. The young man finds courage and says openly that she fought in a very cool way today. The unexpected declaration leaves the fighter and her friends quite confused. Haxion just observes the scene in silence, curious with the boy's attitude. Taeyang also looks at the new guy, seeming a bit bored with the situation. Julian extends his hand toward the rival, demonstrating a gesture of respect. The boy proposes a temporary truce between them to end the fights. He surprises everyone by announcing with firmness that he decided to join the club. The young man points his determination in learning judo to finally overcome her. Jiunam is left in silence for a few moments, just facing the adversary. She asks the reason for him telling that while the others find the scene embarrassing, the fighter says she doesn't care about his choice, as long as he isn't annoying. Jiayan shouts, furious, upon being ignored again while his classmates fall into laughter. Haxion tries to calm the tempers by inviting the whole group to eat meat together. The coach with glasses answers an important phone call before leaving. The athletes keep arguing about food, while the master walks thoughtful. A small shine appears in the darkness, indicating a new spark of rivalry. Sparks of determination start to spread, preparing the path for the trainings. The coach sighs with relief on the outside of the gym, observing the nightfall. He murmurs, laughing alone, that idea of new members is a big bunch of nonsense. The story advances to the moment in which the new guy finally starts his journey. Suddenly, a hand grabs violently the collar of Gyeon's kimono at the training. On the second day of the club, someone questions him in a harsh way, and the story goes back one day. One day before, the judo club meets on the mat to hear the master's warnings. The master officially presents the new guy Gyeon, who still uses the white belt. The coach announces a joint training with another school, generating whispers in the group. Then, the commander calls Taeyang's attention in a quite energetic way. Taeyang is punished and removed from the next lineup for his disrespectful attitude. The master orders the veteran to train the new guy individually from the basics. Jiyan refuses the partnership and the master shouts, saying that now he has 2 headaches to deal with. The coach warns, irritated, that if they keep complaining they will receive severe punishments. He still adds that Taeyang will be responsible for cleaning and locking the gym every single day. Without more conversation, the master tells both to stop complaining and start the warm-up soon. The entire team starts running in circles around the mat to initiate the trainings. Jian and Taeyang run side by side, competing silently to see who is the fastest. The coach observes both from afar, paying attention to the pair's running rhythm. He realizes that the new guy has a very good physical resistance despite being a beginner. Even so, the master knows that Jian is not yet at the level of the more experienced veteran. Taeyang provokes the rival, running without the slightest effort, and saying that all that is too easy. Tired and irritated, the new guy complains of the provocation, but keeps running with all his might. The master ends the run and tells everyone to initiate the basic warm-up rolls. Jian questions himself about the utility of that, for his only desire is to learn real blows. Hyuk mocks the new guy, calling him a paratrooper, and telling him to just sit and observe. The captain tells to stop with the useless conversation, while a classmate tries to calm the irritated boy. Jian realizes that it is Na-un who is speaking, and she explains with sympathy the training routine. She introduces herself joyfully, remembering that they study in the same classroom at school. The boy just thanks, a bit awkward, while noticing the others staring at him from afar. The coach ends the rolls and tells Taeyang to teach the fall techniques to the new guy. The veteran throws Jian to the mat in a harsh way, and without any prior warning. He complains, saying that the boy should cushion the fall instead of just collapsing. The new guy gets up furious, demanding explanations of how to do that before being thrown. Taeyang warns that he should do a backward cushion, but the boy has no idea how. Colleagues notice that the veteran has no patience, and the coach sighs, discouraged. The master decides to call Captain Ji-hoon to give the instruction and tells Taeyong to return to training. Taeyong apologizes to the leader and moves away, leaving the new guy under the captain's guardianship. Ji-hoon asks in a direct way the true reason for wanting to practice judo. The young man confesses with sincerity that he just thought it would be very cool to learn how to fight. The captain asks what he knows about cushioning falls, and the boy says almost nothing. Ji-hoon explains patiently that judo is a martial art focused on throwing the opponent. He teaches that the cushion serves to dissipate the impact of the blow and protect the head. The leader positions himself on the mat and starts to demonstrate the forward cushion. Then, he shows the correct move for the body's side cushion. Then he makes the detailed demonstration of the fall cushion for backward. Finally, the experienced athlete executes the full forward roll on the mat. Ji-yeon tries to repeat and is happy upon realizing that the impact indeed hurts much less. He praises the captain's didactics and already wants to jump straight to the next combat techniques. Ji-hoon interrupts the boy's excitement, demanding 1,000 repetitions of each move. The new guy complains, saying he already memorized the positions, but the leader doesn't accept excuses. He warns that fall techniques are the base of everything, and that training a few times isn't enough. The captain adds in a serious way that he finds the boy's sloppy attitude very offensive. Ji-yeon bites his lips with much rage before the severe scolding of the veteran with glasses. Ji-hoon moves away, reinforcing with firmness that he must complete all the 1,000 repetitions. The young man shouts, asking if he will teach new blows in case he manages to finish the task. The captain looks back in silence for a brief instant and just confirms that yes, the night falls and the noises of the impacts on the mat keep echoing loud through the gym. Taeyong waits, sitting patiently with a bored face, while the new guy keeps training. The veteran asks him to stop and leave once and for all, because it is already past the time to close. Exhausted and very sweaty, Ji-yeon responds that he still has a long path to finish everything. Taeyong says he is crazy because it is humanly impossible to conclude that goal in a single day. And Ji-yeon responds that he doesn't care while Taeyong warns that the captain spoke that to provoke him. The young man affirms that he is tired of being looked down on, and he will finish everything to overcome everyone. He tells the veteran to leave, while Taeyong thinks the new guy loves to complicate his own life. Taeyong decides to leave and throws the gym key, warning that he must return it the next day. Alone in the location, Ji-yeon keeps hitting the mat hard to complete his exhausting task. The next morning, the coach arrives early and opens the location's door, hearing the noise of the impacts. Ji-yeon faces him serious and affirms in a decided way that he withdraws the apologies he asked for previously. The boy confesses that he also doesn't like him and that the master's attitude makes him quite irritated. He completes saying that judo doesn't seem cool and that he also doesn't find the sport fun at all. The master remembers those sincere words while he listens to the repetitive impacts on the mat. He checks his cell phone and smiles upon seeing the recording of the new guy training hard during the entire night. The coach plans how he will use the boy's dedication to provoke the other rival technicians. He enters complaining that Taeyong should have locked the location's doors correctly. The master comes across Ji-yeon leaving, and the young man greets him with much difficulty and pain. That the commander is left without reaction upon seeing the deplorable state the boy finds himself in that moment. Ji-yeon goes away, sighing from extreme exhaustion while the coach just observes him surprised. The master smiles, finding grace in the stubbornness and absurd determination demonstrated by the boy. In the recorded video, the boy appears completely finished after performing the 8th series of trainings. In the classroom, a loud scream of pain from the new guy calls the attention of those who pass through the halls. Subin tries to place a pain patch on the friend's back, who complains a lot before being touched. Ji-yeon complains that his entire body hurts too much when Na-an approaches to say good morning. The classmate asks surprise if he really managed to finish all the 1,000 repetitions. The young man remembers the guard who kicked him out at night and how he had to return at dawn to finish. Un is left very impressed with his dedication, but warns that overtraining can hurt him. The young man tries to pretend he is well but screams in pain when the friend touches his back again. The girl suggests that he take the day off to rest, because recovery is essential for the body. Jiyeon starts to ponder if it really makes sense to rest a bit to recover the muscles. He mentally reviews the rivals' provocations and refuses to look weak before them. The young man decides he has already trained enough to be able to rest just for today and recover. Suddenly, a firm female voice tells him to stop complaining in such a loud way. Junam faces him with contempt and tells him to go to the infirmary if he wants to keep complaining about pain. The new guy gets extremely furious with the harsh words of his big rival in the classroom, ignoring the pains. He appears in the gym ready to train without giving space for laziness. The young man walks through the mat, determined to prove his value and get a quick promotion in the team. He approaches the other members with a firm stance, despite the evident exhaustion in his body. The master and Haxian talk calmly about the trainings in the center of the combat area. The veteran calls the coach's attention upon noticing the boy's unexpected arrival early on. Haxian praises the boy for arriving so early for the start of the team's activities. Jiyeon shows the videos on his cell phone, proving he completed all the 4,000 falls required. The veteran laughs out loud, finding his attitude incredible, while the coach is left without reaction. The master with glasses asks for calm and says for him to keep practicing the bases without so much rush. Haxian gives a hard slap on the new guy's painful back, making him let out a deafening scream of pain. The Joker tells him to go change, laughing a lot while the boy grumbles in pain in the locker room. In the locker room, other athletes arrive and welcome the boy in a friendly way. A classmate comments laughing that he thought the new guy would give up right after the first hard day. Jian challenges Ian Hayek to a combat, but the rival refuses, saying he doesn't fight with civilians. The opponent says in a sarcastic way that he will only fight when the boy manages the yellow belt. He still tells the new guy to wash the smelly kimono, leaving Jian extremely irritated. The young man smells his own clothes and realizes he indeed sweated too much in the previous day's training. He promises himself to overcome them all soon when the captain appears by surprise in the locker room. Jian charges the promise of the new techniques, and Captain Jun accepts to apply a real blow on him. The leader grabs the boy's kimono collar, telling him to try to do the correct cushion. Without hesitating, Jihoon throws the new guy with extreme ease, leaving everyone in the gym surprised. Jian hits with force against the gym's floor, feeling all the impact of the captain's blow. Fallen, the young man complains a lot of pain, grumbling about the strong muscle fatigue he already felt. Colleagues watch scared, commenting that the leader was too hard by using that blow on a beginner. Jihoon faces the boy fallen on the floor and asks in an ironic way if that was his correct training. Jiyeon gets up, very irritated, complaining that there was no way to guess which blow would be used. He reinforces that he only wishes to train exactly like the other members of the judo team. The young man shouts, saying he is a student equal to everyone there, and questions what is his difference from them. The captain changes his tone of voice and calls the new guy with an extremely serious and intimidating look. Suddenly, Jihoon grabs Gyan's kimono collar in a very aggressive and violent way. The leader pulls the boy close and asks if he really thinks the sport is some joke. Jayunam observes the tension increasing on the mat and laments the absence of the club's main coach. Ji-yeon doesn't back down and demands the captain speak clearly what he did so wrong to be treated like that. Jihoon responds coldly that the problem is the new guy simply doesn't have what is necessary. The captain reinforces that the boy doesn't possess the minimum requirements to be part of that team. He affirms that all members there railed a lot to join the school's judo club. Meanwhile, outside the gym, the technicians of the two rival schools talk about the championship. In the locker room, the captain throws the final question, questioning who the new guy really thinks he is. The coach of the other school arrives accompanied by a student who says to be a big fan of Junim's ability. The technician praises the girl, but the new student from the other school seems to find all that ridiculous. Jihoon cites Ji-Yeon's problematic history and asks if he still thinks he is equal to the others. Ji-Yeon is left in absolute silence, feeling much rage for having his past brought to light again. Suddenly, the coach enters the locker room, shouting and demanding to know what is happening there. The captain releases the boy's kimono collar, annoyed, while the tension keeps in the air. The technician of the other school enters looking for Junim, but suddenly stops talking, surprised. He focuses his eyes on Ji-Yeon and recognizes the boy, leaving all those present in silence. Ji-Yeon and Jihoon are surprised by the noisy arrival of some club members in the middle of the gym. The rookie gets extremely annoyed at being held by his clothes, but chooses not to start a new fight there. The coach shows up laughing and asks what the boys are doing, instead of staying focused on their judo training. A spiky, haired boy who just entered the room recognizes the rookie's face and is completely shocked. He slowly approaches and asks in disbelief why Yeon is at that specific school now. Ji-Yeon just looks back in absolute silence without showing any kind of reaction toward the boy. The coach watches the scene from afar and asks out loud who that mysterious boy who just arrived is. The veteran wants to know if they already know each other from somewhere, while complaining that no one there is training seriously. The spiky, haired boy tries to explain himself while stuttering heavily as the coach continues to glare angrily. The very angry master warns that the rookie has already learned the basic theory and breakful techniques. Jihoon explains they were practicing actual throws, but Ji-Yeon still doesn't quite understand his plan. Upon hearing that, the coach's mood quickly shifts, and he begins to praise his students' great dedication. The giant complains silently while Jihoon asks why he's staring with such a grumpy look. The veteran asks directly if they really know each other, but Gyeon denies it, saying he isn't sure. Jihoon warns that he should avoid starting any trouble that could bring serious problems to the judo club. Jaein gets extremely irritated and starts grumbling loudly about how people are always demanding explanations from him. Suddenly, Hakshin appears from behind and gives the rookie a painful thump on the back, making him shout in pain. Jaeon yells telling the veteran to stop hitting him, but the boy just laughs and jokes that he is also suffering. Hakshin praises their work and mentions that Jihoon needs to help supervise the other athletes' training today. He makes up an excuse about the rookie being tired, leaving the coaches from other schools quite startled. The master agrees to the rest, and Hakshin teases the boy, saying he got a break just to watch everything. Jaeon feels embarrassed by the situation, while the veteran tells him to relax and just observe the others' training. He walks over to the gym bench and sits down to watch the intense training of the other judo athletes. Sitting alone in the school bleachers, the boy has an extremely awkward and bored look on his face. The spiky, haired boy sits next to him, striking up a conversation and saying it's hard to pretend he doesn't exist there. Ji-Yeon responds very coldly, saying he has no idea who the boy actually is. The boy smiles awkwardly and explains that they weren't that close and only went to school together for a very short time. He says he is very happy to see the boy is doing well, but Ji-Yeon tells him to stop talking in such a weird way. The young man reveals that they used to be in the same class at Chang'an High, leaving the rookie surprised by the information. Ji-Yeon becomes pensive, and the boy continues, saying they were classmates at their old school. The boy sadly comments that remembering those old times suddenly puts him in a very bad mood. He reveals with great shame that many students bitterly regretted not defending their friend in the past. The young man lowers his head in remorse, remembering the time when everyone was too afraid to act against the bullies. He sadly confesses that he was one of those cowards who just watched everything without the courage to intervene. The boy remembers being terrified of that mean bully, and because of that, he couldn't do anything to help. He says he was shocked by Gyeon's brave attitude for carrying that whole heavy burden all by himself. Annoyed, Ji-Yeon tells him to stop with the sad talk and asks why he is bringing up things from the past. The rookie says he prefers to forget all of that for good, while the friend offers a sincere apology for his past weakness. The classmate asks if he was forced to transfer, but Jian explains he only moved because of his parents' work. He questions how the boy ended up joining judo at such a famous and traditional school like this one. The young man is shocked to learn that his friend is training in the same club as the feared and powerful Junam. The rookie imagines his own family's reaction if they found out about his new friendships and choices at that school. He thinks to himself that he would never admit he joined the club just to annoy that stuck-up judo girl. The friend laughs, saying that answer really suits him, and reveals that he also started training in judo a short time ago. He praises Jian's courage for starting at an elite school while the rookie listens to everything in silence. The coach from the other school calls for the young man, telling him to leave quickly, and he hurriedly says goodbye to his friend. Before running off, the boy stops for a brief moment, saying he needed to tell him something very important. He thanks him from the bottom of his heart for Jian's brave attitude in defending all the students in the past. The young man confesses that he decided to start training in martial arts to become someone strong and capable of making a difference. He says goodbye, wishing him luck and ensuring the rookie will do very well in the sport thanks to his absurd persistence. Jian says a quick goodbye to his classmate and mentions that he is already heading home after the activities end. Jamin walks happily beside his coach, commenting on how glad he was to see his favorite athletes. The coach complains about him cheering for rivals, but the young man turns down a ride, saying he is meeting a friend nearby. He says a friendly goodbye to the master, promising not to be late so he won't worry his parents at home. In the locker room, Hexine asks Jian directly if he really knew that boy from before. The veteran jokes about them talking a lot, and the rookie explains he was just someone from his old school. Haxian smiles playfully, remembering that the boy had previously said he didn't know him from anywhere. Jian feels awkward after being called out by his teammate and tries to hide his embarrassment by quickly changing the subject. The veteran shrugs and comments with a laugh that anyone they meet ends up becoming a friend in the end. Later, on a dark street, Jamin looks at his phone thoughtfully, unsure if he should send a message to his old friends. He looks at the contact list on his phone, pondering what the best decision to take would be now. The boy wonders if he should talk to his old companions, or at least send a message to his classmate Jiho. Suddenly, a scary and very mocking voice echoes from behind him, leaving the boy completely paralyzed with fear. A green-haired bully appears, mocking his name and asking how the boy is doing after transferring schools. The aggressor puts his arm around Jamin's shoulder, laughing at his desperation and pretending to be very happy to see his classmate again. He calls out loudly for a friend named Li Jun, asking if he remembers that coward who almost betrayed them in the past. The leader of the group points at Jamin with a wicked smile, while the other accomplices slowly approach. The blonde boy just watches the situation with a mean smirk on his face, showing total contempt for the young man. The terrifying past returns like a real nightmare in Jamin's mind, and he trembles with fear before those monsters. The blonde bully gives a cynical smile and says it has been a very long time since they last met. Lying on his bed, Jian sighs from extreme exhaustion, feeling terrible pain all over his body after the training sessions. He remembers Jamin saying at the gym that he really needed to confess something important to him before leaving. The boy recalls his friend's sincere thanks for having the courage to defend them at their old school. He remembers that he was the inspiration for his classmate to start martial arts to become someone strong in life. Jian recalls the boy's parting wave, promising they would still see each other a lot because of judo. The boy feels the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, and besides, he needs to take his training much more seriously now. The next day, Jihoon adjusts his glasses and tells the rookie to practice basic rolls before testing any throws. Jian suffers through the heavy physical training, complaining that the veteran is trying to finish him off on purpose. The boy makes an absurd effort to complete the exercises while his shirt becomes completely soaked with sweat. In the cafeteria, Subin listens to the story intently while eating a bun and asks if he found a solution. Ji-yeon confirms furiously, saying he can't stand being ignored and spending the whole day just falling on the mat. Subin calmly suggests that he should look for another, more patient veteran to teach him the real techniques. Ji-yeon rejects the idea, wanting to surpass the captain himself, who treats him like an intrusive student with no talent. He complains about his coach's stubbornness, while the other students sleep peacefully during the class break. The boy watches a girl trying to reach the blackboard and decides he won't ask her for help, no matter what. Ji-yeon thinks about asking Junam for help, but gives up when he remembers the intimidating look of his feared rival. He decides it's much better to watch videos on the internet to try and learn judo moves on his own. Subin asks with a laugh how he plans to train throws without having a real training partner to help with the movements. Ji-yeon gives a scary smile and grabs the collar of a strong student in the class to serve as a punching bag. The rookie drags the strongest bullies in the school to the storage room, wanting to use them as his training partners. The boys are extremely outraged by the protagonist's nerve, but they don't have the courage to react against him. Without giving them a chance to defend, Ji-yeon applies a judo move, throwing the first bully to the ground. The boys fall painfully to the floor, complaining that the rookie's techniques are clumsy and hurt their legs too much. Ji-yeon asks irritably why they know how to fall so well, and the boy replies that he has already been beaten many times by the terrible Ji-yeon. The bully complains that they even put mattresses there to make it easier, but the rookie threatens him by holding firmly onto his collar. Ji-yeon asks what the problem is, and the boys explain the flaws in his balance when he goes for the attack. He thoughtfully realizes that applying the correct balancing techniques in practice is much harder than it seemed. The bullies mockingly suggest that he should ask Junam herself for help instead of hitting them there. A very loud thumping sound of a fall echoes from outside the storage room, startling other students passing nearby. The day comes to an end with a beautiful sunset illuminating the facade of the judo school's sports gym. Ji-yeon observes his rival thoughtfully and mentally admits that she really makes the moves look easy. He begins to review the precise details in his mind of how his opponent grabs the lapel of the enemy's uniform. The boy recalls the exact moment she positions herself to apply a fast and accurate sweep on the opponent. The rookie surprisingly notices that the winning move she used in the championship was specifically a leg technique. He analyzes the move frame by frame in his memory, focusing on the positioning of the judo champion's supporting foot. He notices how she turns her body with absurd agility, using the other person's strength to throw them for good. Ji-yeon understands what his teammate said about taking away the balance and using the opponent's own weight against them. He wonders if it would do any good to ask her for help directly, or if she would just tell him to get lost. Suddenly, Ji-hoon appears by his side demanding focus on the training and asks if he's just going to daydream on the mat. The experienced veteran with glasses shows no mercy and orders the boy to do 500 more breakful rolls as punishment. Ji-yeon tries to complain, but the captain says while walking away that he will also have to do 500 push-ups to finish. The boy holds onto the wall, dying of anger, and mentally swears he won't endure that torture for long. Determined, he runs to Junam and asks what she is doing there, wanting to speak with the athlete urgently. Tired, the boy begs her to teach him the techniques, since he completed the entire exhaustive series of exercises. Junam coldly refuses and reminds him that he is already receiving basic guidance directly from the club captain. The rookie complains, saying he is tired of running laps on the mat and doing the same useless activity every day. She defends Ji-hoon, saying he is a fair leader and that he is only acting this way because of the rookie's bad attitude. The fighter warns that she knows very well the boy only wants to face her and refuses to teach any techniques. Junam tells the rookie to stop testing her patience while he grumbles in anger at the girl's sharp response. The boy bites his lips in pure frustration, unable to accept that he was rejected so easily by his great rival. Ji-yeon tries to strike a friendly deal and proposes that they pretend they don't know each other at all within the school. He guarantees he won't speak to her at any time outside of training, and the girl repeats the rule, demanding respect. The boy adds that in the classroom, she shouldn't even look in his direction or try to talk to him again. He warns that if she refuses, he will bother her forever, but if she accepts to teach, they both win in the end. Junam says she accepts the truce at school, but makes it clear she will still find his presence extremely annoying. Ji-yeon gives a challenging smile and holds out his hand to the girl, asking if their secret deal is closed. The judo athlete stares at the boy with a serious and pensive look, evaluating if that crazy proposal is really worth it. She puts her hand to her face, tired of the boy's persistence, and lets out a weary sigh before making her decision. The young woman fixes her hair and officially accepts as the secret deal to train the boy individually at night. In the cafeteria, the students comment in surprise that the classroom has been very peaceful since the arrival of the new student. A classmate eats happily and celebrates that the relationship between the two rivals finally seems calm and quiet. But another gossip, Manga adjusts his glasses and laughs at his friend's innocence, saying things aren't quite like that. He reveals with a laugh that there are already strong rumors that the rookie and the athlete are secretly dating. The boy says he caught the two of them alone at school late at night in a very suspicious way in the middle of the dark courtyard. He swears he saw the two walking together toward the gym to have a romantic and mysterious encounter. The girls blush with excitement, imagining that the boy joined judo just because of his great love. The students continue gossiping happily at the lunch table, while the judo group listens to everything closely. One of the gossips says the boy is a true romantic when Taeyang slams his hand on the table, startling everyone. The students jump in shock at the judo athlete's violent reaction and stay frozen, looking at him awkwardly. Taeyang complains that they almost spilled his food and says with a scowl that he's finished and is leaving. The boy takes his almost untouched tray of food and leaves irritably, leaving his tablemate quite confused. The classmate yells for his friend, but he just rudely ignores him and continues walking out of the area. The judo club's official poster highlights the unity and strength of the members in their daily fights at the school. In the gym, Junam explains with crossed arms that she accepts to train the boy, but imposes some strict conditions for it. The first rule is that the extra lessons will only happen very late at night, after the official club training ends. Ji-yeon trains so hard that he collapses exhausted on the mat, while the others comment on his lack of stamina. The second condition is revealed when Taeyang appears by surprise in the middle of the duo's night training at the gym. The intruder asks why they are still there and offers to help, saying the rookie seems to need support. Ji-yeon and Junam get extremely angry at their teammate's intrusion and tell him to leave and stop interfering. Junam finally loses her patience and shouts threateningly, telling the meddler to shut his mouth immediately and get out. Junam imposes her second condition, warning him that he must never talk back to her if he wants to continue training. She decides to use Taeyang to demonstrate the judo moves, while Ji-yeon complains about having his rival as a partner. Taeyang complains about the unwanted task, but the girl tells him to shut up and go put on his training uniform right away. The athlete explains she will teach the basic leg sweep technique, and the rookie recognizes the move she used in the tournament. Junam decides to give a quick and direct explanation since the boy showed that he at least knows what it's about. She approaches and begins to explain that the leg sweep technique is one of the most efficient leg moves in judo. Suddenly, the girl pulls Taeyang's collar with force, startling both boys with the aggressiveness of the move. She shifts the responsibility to the veteran and tells him to explain the details of the correct movement to the beginner. Jian gets very angry while the girl explains that the sweep serves to trick and knock down the opponent's base. Junam lightly punches Taeyong's head to punish him and continues demonstrating the correct grip on the uniform. She teaches that pulling the opponent to off, balance their center of gravity, is the main key to the correct movement. Next, she explains that it's necessary to press your own body firmly against the opponent you just pulled. The girl demonstrates in detail how to use the foot to hook the back of the opponent's knee and force the fall. With a spectacular move, she throws her teammate against the mat, executing a perfect fall in front of the rookie. She warns seriously that if the off-balancing is not executed well, the fighter will be totally exposed to a counter-attack. Jian scratches his cheek, realizing the technique is much more complex and full of important details than he imagined. The young athlete agrees, saying it's hard to get the hang of it at first, but warns they will repeat it until it's right. Time passes quickly on the gym clock while Jian continues to be thrown several times in a row. The exhaustive routine of falls, impotent repetitions can steadily through hours of hard training on the mat during the cold night. Completely wiped out, the rookie lies on the floor complaining of great fatigue and asks them to buy him something to drink. Taeyong angrily refuses, and the girl neutrally suggests they play rock, paper, scissors to decide who goes. Jian asks for his favorite soda while lying on his back, as the veteran glares at him with an expression of disdain. The boy lets out a happy and triumphant laugh upon realizing he managed to convince his rival to buy his drink. Taeyong gets extremely frustrated and scowls upon realizing he ended up losing the silly contest to the rookie. The veteran goes to get the sodas complaining loudly, while Jian celebrates lying on the judo gym floor. The rookie laughs out loud at his opponent's face, mocking his defeat in the game and waving at him provocatively. But as soon as their teammate leaves, the atmosphere between the two rivals becomes extremely silent and awkward on the empty mat. Jian sits up a bit awkwardly, not knowing what to say to break that uncomfortable silence with the judo fighter. The girl also looks away, appearing quite shy and embarrassed by that unusual situation with the boy. She thinks she should have gone to get the drink herself to avoid being in such a weird mood outside of training. To break the ice, the young man calls her attention and asks her to explain again the part about off-balancing the rival. Junam looks at him calmly and tells the boy to stand up straight so she can demonstrate the leg sweep again. Outside the school, two gossip-loving students walk suspiciously, wanting to know if the school rumors are true. They recall the boy's suspicious attitude at lunch and decide to peek through the gym window to uncover the secret. The girls imagine a forbidden love triangle and decide to peek quietly through the bushes near the gym. Writing down absurd theories about the rookie being the son of a rich man, they slowly approach the large window. One of the girls gets a huge shock when she looks through the glass and turns completely red at what she sees in the room. The other gossip curiously asks what she saw and is shocked to come across the surprising scene on the mat. Taeyong opens the door of the place, bringing the purchased drinks, and mentions he didn't find the soda the rookie wanted. However, the boy stops at the gym door and lets the drinks fall to the floor upon seeing what is happening inside. The gossips at the window shout in surprise and assume the two really are secretly dating at school. In reality, Junam ended up falling awkwardly on top of Guyan on the floor after being startled by a strange shadow outside. She holds her own head in confusion, saying she saw a person's shadow, while the boy complains of back pain. She points to the gym's large glass window, insisting she saw someone's face spying on them in the darkness of the night. She tries to explain that she got scared in the middle of the lead sled sweep movement upon noticing the mysterious eyes watching the training. Junam swears someone's head was there, but Jian complains without understanding anything and thinks she's going crazy. Jian says sarcastically that she must be seeing ghosts, while the girls hide in fear in the bushes. He stands up complaining that his opponent is too strong for no reason and fears his spine might have broken from the impact. Taeyong enters furiously, throwing a bottle at the irritated rookie, and asks why they were in that weird position. Jian complains, pointing out it was the girl who fell on top of him, and she hands him the drink, telling him to shut up already. Jian complains because Junam shook his soda too much, while she remembers the mysterious shadow at the window. The young man gets a very bad feeling about the next day as class begins on a new sunny day. In the middle of class, a classmate asks with a curious smile if the two happen to be secretly dating. The absurd question leaves both athletes completely furious and irritated in the middle of the crowded classroom. Suddenly, the rookie's worst suspicions end up being confirmed in a very direct way at the start of that day. The gossiping boy says the whole school is already talking about their secret romance with the rich man's son. The other student is horrified by the bombshell gossip, but Jian denies everything immediately with a grumpy face. He takes a deep breath, trying to stay calm, and questions if the boys only went there to tell those lies. Captain Haxian appears laughing and mentions he needs to stay informed about the gossip involving the judo club. The captain asks if nothing is going on, and Jian yells angrily that he would never date such a stubborn girl. Junam appears right behind him and coldly reveals to everyone that she was just teaching the rookie a judo move. Haxian is surprised by the revelation of the move, while Jian desperately tries to make the girl shut up. She explains disdainfully that she only trained the boy because he promised to stop bothering her, and that he only observed the movements. Junam adds that, in fact, Taeyang was the one who served as the training partner, taking all the heavy throws to the floor. Haxian finds the rookie's attitude quite clever, and confesses with a laugh that he is smarter and more persistent than he showed. The captain says he doesn't know why he chose her as his tutor, but agrees it was the best option the boy had. He scratches his chin with a smirk upon realizing the three were just putting in effort in an extra night training session. Haxian gives Jian some hard pats on the back and tells the group to handle the control of those crazy rumors on their own. The captain decides to leave, warning that there are many curious eyes, and promises to meet the boys later at training. As he sneaks out the classroom door, he accidentally bumps into the serious and intimidating Taeyang by surprise. With a very lively smile, the captain wishes good luck to his teammate, who enters the room with a grumpy look. Jian is confused by the talk of containing rumors and complains angrily to Junam for revealing their secret training sessions. She sees no problem with it and says it was better to tell the truth once, and for all to prevent those lies from getting worse. The rookie gestures irritably, remembering their deal was not to speak to each other at all during school hours. He grumbles in great anger with a scowl, realizing he can't win any argument against the young athlete. The rest of the class watches the two arguing closely and concludes that the girl has the rookie totally under control. One of the students recalls the talk about the judo training, but the vibe of a couple's fight is too strong to be ignored. The whispers that it's just a silly lovers' spat leave the judo athlete extremely furious and irritated. Junam walks over to the desk of the main gossip, who was celebrating how right his mindless love theories were. She stares at the boy with a chilling and dark glare and asks directly if he also wishes to learn some throws. Junam rests her hand on the trembling boy's shoulder and offers private lessons at any time since he has so much interest. She promises to teach him everything from start to very gently, while the boy trembles in terror at the scary offer. The girl turns to the classmate next to her and tells her to speak up if she wants to learn judo. Leaving the girl terrified, she throws a cold, piercing look toward the rest of the class, making everyone understand her threatening message. She comments loudly that the room has many people interested in judo, and in seconds, everyone starts studying in absolute silence. With silence restored, the boys break out in a cold sweat before the absurd control the feared judoka has over the whole room. Taeyang suddenly approaches and begs with a serious look for her to also teach him everything from start to finish. Junam delivers a strong kicker teammate and tells him to go back to his own classroom immediately without complaining. The other students comment in shock about her power to clear the environment of gossip, using only intimidation. Jian puts his hand to his head, worried, and thinks that if the veteran obsessed with throws finds out everything, he'll be dead. Once again, his bad feeling returns when night finally falls over the gym of the renowned school. Wearing his gi, the boy is totally shocked and scared by some sudden news he just heard there. Haxian gives a playful smile as he announces that the coach decided to sign the rookie up for next month's amateur championship. He says Junam and Taeyang must give the boy individual training to get good results, leaving the trial surprised. The three react very dissatisfied and curse mentally at the same time, unwilling to accept that new and tiring obligation. The team master enters the place with arms crossed and comments seriously that he heard a very funny rumor today. He mentions the story of the secret romance with the rich man's son and demands that rumors give way to good results. The coach calls the names of the three athletes out loud, making the group respond promptly with great respect. He warns that if they are using the gym at night, they must prove their dedication with real victories in the upcoming tournament. The master also orders the gossip to stop circulating the school while Taeyang timidly raises his hand to say something. Taeyang complains, saying they shouldn't be held responsible for the rookie's performance, while Gyeong glares at him angrily. The master listens to the complaint with arms crossed and replies simply that the boy can then stay out of this activity. Taeyang is shocked by the sudden dismissal, while his teammates in the background start laughing at his face in a very amused way. The boy has a completely frozen and dark look on his face, unable to believe what the coach just said to him. He gives up his rebellion and accepts to help with the rookie's training, making the coach let out a very loud and satisfied laugh right then. The coach praises the trio's great team spirit, but in reality, all three seem completely soulless about the obligation. Ji-hoon approaches, adjusting his glasses, and asks if the two will now be the only ones responsible for the new recruits' training. The veteran wants to know if he should continue teaching the basics or step away entirely to focus only on his own training. The coach confirms with a smile and thanks Ji-hoon for the intense help these past few days, leaving Jian super happy and relieved. Jian listens to the conversation very carefully with a focused and concentrated look while the veterans continue discussing there. Ji-hoon expresses his real concern, saying that sending a rookie who doesn't know the basics to a real tournament is a huge danger. The coach agrees there are risks but states, if he only sent fully ready athletes, they would spend their whole lives training. He explains that combat instincts are learned by falling on the mat, while the rookie complains that no one asked for his opinion. The master then calls for Junam from the middle of the group of students and asks directly if she can really handle this. The girl confidently replies that she doesn't know the level the master desires but guarantees she will make the boy win the match. Ji-hoon listens in silence while Junam agrees that real combat experience is indeed important for the rookie. She points out that if he fights without basic fundamentals, he will pick up bad habits and run the risk of a serious body injury. With a firm posture, the girl stares at the experienced team captain, calling for him in the middle of the gym in a serious way. Ji-hoon focuses his gaze on her, waiting for the conclusion of the young woman's reasoning, as she always shows much wisdom in her words. Junam asks directly if he perhaps doesn't trust her to lead that extra training for the team's young rookie. The boy responds seriously, saying it's not about trust, but rather about the dangers and long-term variables. Haxian approaches smiling, putting his hand on his teammate's shoulder, and agrees there are real risks that can't be ignored. The captain explains that the decision was made, and that giving a difficult goal to someone stubborn sometimes works much better. Jian complains that everyone is deciding his life for him, and Haxian teases him, saying it would be very boring if he quit. The rookie gets irritated at falling for their teasing and warns that if he is really going to participate in the championship, it will be on his own terms. He decides to accept the challenge and asks his teammates to teach him real judo moves from now on without any stalling. But the coach gets very angry at the boy's mockery of the tournament and gives him a huge lecture, shouting the rookie's name. Time passes, and the boy's determination is put to the test in the new chapter of his intense journey in the sport. In the night training, Junam decides to teach the famous arm-shoulder throw technique, leaving the rookie very excited. She tells him to memorize the basic moves because of the tight deadline, but Jayan interrupts her, saying he has a major question. While the trio trains hard on the gym mat, Jihoon observes their movements from afar with a thoughtful look. Haxian appears beside Jihoon and asks, jokingly, if his friend still doesn't trust the coach's decision. He explains that he isn't contesting the master's order, but simply believes that everything in life should have a correct pattern to follow. Haxian gives a playful smile and offers to explain the real reason for bringing the rookie into the judo club. Passing by his teammate, the experienced captain reveals mysteriously that the boy is an unpredictable piece in the team. Jihoon is quite confused by the captain's enigmatic comment and turns around to try and better understand his words. Haxian remembers that Taeyong started training with great grit and focus from the first moment the rookie showed up. He recalls the two silly fights over the use of the left hand and how the high-energy arguments kept the club moving. He also remembered Junam telling them both to shut up, annoyed by the nonsense they kept talking during training. The captain points out that the girl herself is opening up more to everyone, and Jihoon questions if it's worth taking all that risk. Haxian jokes that great risks bring great returns and guarantees that the bet is really worth it. Jihoon retorts seriously, saying there is a very important detail that his friend ended up letting go unnoticed. The cold night envelops the dark city streets as silence takes over the sidewalks around the large school. Jihoon walks alone down to the dark school hallway, immersed in his own thoughts about the team's future. The experienced athlete adjusts his glasses in the dark, reflecting deeply on everything his captain had said before. He remembers the revelation that Gyeon promised to leave the judo club if he doesn't make it to the podium in the amateur championship. The boy's bold promise surprised the captain and showed that the rookie indeed set his own standards for the team. Haxian had pointed out that his friend only sees perfect people, but reminds him that everyone has their hidden flaws. His teammates' sincere advice makes Jihoon reflect a lot on his own rigid and demanding view of the world. He thinks to himself that he prefers to follow tested patterns because he believes the risk of failure is lower than a variable. He reflects thoughtfully that if variables are present in all people, they cease to be a silly exception in daily life. The young man concludes that the true secret isn't trying to avoid surprises, but rather learning to deal with each of them. He analyzes the situation, thinking if that first-year rookie would indeed be an easy variable to master in training. Suddenly, Jihoon comes across Jian walking up the stairs of the dark alley, and the rookie recognizes him with surprise. Jian looks down with a curious and calm expression upon finding his rigid veteran in such an unusual place. Jihoon freezes, holding his cylindrical object in his hand, not knowing how to act in that unexpected encounter. The rookie gives a temporary smirk and asks jokingly if the straight-edged veteran happens to be sneaking a smoke. Faced with that bold question, the young man with glasses bites his lips, wondering if he really can control this boy. He goes back to reflecting that if variables exist everyone, then surprises are a natural part of anyone's routine. In the middle of the deserted street, he understands that the most important thing isn't the existence of the unforeseen, but how he reacts to the moment. The boy wonders if that enigmatic first-year student would be just an easy piece to manipulate on the team. At that moment, the rookie appears walking up the alley slope and points directly at his rigid judo veteran. Jian tilts his head, staring at his teammate with suspicion, not quite understanding what he's doing there so late at night. Jihoon remains motionless and quiet under the weak light of the street lamp, holding his pen very firmly and tensely. The younger one lets out a mocking laugh and asks if the rigid veteran has secret habits that no one at school imagines. He swallows hard and looks away thoughtfully, not knowing if he truly has the necessary control over that silly situation. Ji-yeon continues mocking and says he thought the boy was just a straight-edged robot, but realized he's quite human after all. Ji-hoon feels uncomfortable finding the rookie in that specific neighborhood and admits he didn't expect to deal with this surprise now. Ji-yeon complains of pain and asks if his teammate lives nearby, saying it would be terrible if they were actually neighbors. He tries to get the attention of the veteran, who remains in absolute silence and with a grumpy face, staring into space. Ji-yeon asks if he has frozen for good, while Ji-hoon just keeps his head down, ignoring the silly teasing. Ji-hoon decides to leave and mentions that smoking makes no sense for someone who trains hard, turning his back and walking up the stairs. The boy with glasses walks in absolute silence, with a very serious look, deep in his own thoughts. He suddenly stops with his back turned, and this Thamens Chambi ship could be an excellent opportunity. He shows that he was just holding an ordinary pin, dismantling the whole ridiculous theory the rookie created about him. Ji-hoon reveals it would be great to see someone he doesn't like be expelled from the judo club after failing badly in the competition. The rookie stares at the veteran coldly and quite irritably, feeling his teammate's mean provocation in his chest. With a scowl, Ji-yeon asks what kind of silly opportunity that would be. While continuing to stare at the older one angrily, he warns that he doesn't give a damn about his plans, and that he has zero interest in having a little chat with his veteran. Ji-hoon just puts away his writing tool and tells the boy to go get some rest for the next day without answering anything. Surprisingly, the day dawns sunny, and the activities in the school's traditional gym start in full swing. The rookie does absolutely nothing during the first hours, showing total laziness and a lack of will on the mat. The next day, night falls again over the club building, and the sports gym lights remain brightly lit. Ji-yeon and Junam train alone on the mat until the rookie notices Ji-hoon's presence walking out of the school. The boy yells from the mat, asking if the veteran will be stopping by the alley again today, making Ji-hoon stop quite startled. He invites his teammate with glasses to practice some falls with them, if he happens not to be too busy with his things. Ji-yeon gives a very confident and provocative smile that the club's straight-edged guy won't refuse their training invitation. The tension between the duo only increases, and the new chapter promises to focus on this explosive rivalry full of judo challenges. Junam apologizes for the trouble and explains that Taeyong had to leave early to deal with family problems. She thanks Ji-hoon very much for his presence, and he just silently agrees with a nod in his typical reserved way. An extremely tense and dark atmosphere settles between the two boys, leaving the young athlete in a cold sweat on the mat. Junam regrets having called the veteran and tells Ji-hoon to just take the hits while they train basic techniques. Adjusting his glasses, he coldly asks what level of learning the first-year boy is actually at now. She explains she has already taught two-leg and arm throws, and that she intended to go over ankle sweep techniques next. Ji-hoon wants to know the boy's body measurements, and he quickly replies that he is 185 centimeters tall. The veteran explains that taller athletes have a high center of gravity, so it's better to focus on hip techniques. Junam agrees, but points out that he has excellent physical strength and agility, and that's why she started shoulder training with him. The girl praises his speed in practical learning, and Ji-yeon laughs happily at the comment, taking it as a huge compliment. Ji-hoon calmly accepts his teammates' arguments and decides it's time to test the rookie's real skill up close. He positions himself in front of Ji-yeon, warning very seriously that he is just going to contest simple grips on his uniform. Ji-hoon firmly instructs the rookie to analyze the situation well and use any of the techniques he has already learned. Ji-yeon is confused by the sudden order and asks in surprise if he really should use any of the moves taught. The veteran just nods with his serious look, indicating that the boy must start the attack immediately. The rookie bites his lips thoughtfully and begins to analyze the move options in his mind to know how to attack first. He remembers that his old opponent was left-handed, but notices in confusion that Ji-hoon's fighting stance is totally opposite. The older one demands action, telling the boy to make a grip on the uniform while the boy tries to find a real opening. Ji-hyun wonders if he should try a simple lead sweep, but feels that the veteran's base is too far away. Without thinking much, the boy advances with agility, stretching his arms to get a firm grip on the opponent's collar. Junam watches everything closely and opens her eyes in great surprise at the impressive speed of the rookie's quick reaction. The boy leans his body quickly, pulling Ji-hoon down and trying to balance the veteran's solid base. With an impressive rotational movement, the boy tries to set up a beautiful over the shoulder throw. He focuses first on making the grip precisely with his hands stretched toward the opposite side of Ji-hoon's uniform. Junam continues watching the surprise movement and is even more impressed by the new student's aggressiveness. Jaehyun turns his own body and leans his spine with agility to get the necessary leverage for the throw. The veteran's body is launched through the air in a spectacular move that leaves the entire room in complete shock during training, but Ji-hoon manages to let go of the sleeve at the last second with great speed, avoiding the full impact of the devastating move. He falls heavily on his back on the mat, making a thunderous sound that echoes through all the walls of the empty gym. The rookie stands up stuttering and realizes tensely that he made a small mistake when finishing the fall movement. Junam yells furiously, calling the boy an idiot, and complains very angrily about his error in finishing the move on the mat. She gives him a huge lecture about the danger of hurting his partner, while Ji-hoon lies on the floor calmly apologizing. The rookie asks if the veteran is okay, and confesses he acted on instinct when he realized the common move wouldn't fit. Ji-hoon stands up and asks Junam how long ago she started teaching those judo throws to the rookie. He wants to know if she has already taught the boy to change the entry of the move, depending on the rival's left or right stance. Junam denies it, saying she taught only the traditional throw, and Ji-hyun scratches his head, not understanding the importance of that. Ji-hoon realizes she only taught the basic theory from the books, which makes the rookie's reaction even more surprising. The veteran reflects that beginners usually insist on the same move, but Jaehyun says he changed the attack just by intuition. The boy jokes, asking if he happens to be a judo genius, while the trainer tells him to shut up with a scowl. Jun recalls his own past rigidity and notices that the rookie didn't hesitate to change the move when he saw he would fail. He reviews in his memory the precise details of how the boy changed the position of his hands and shoulders in the middle of the movement. He realizes with great amazement that no one ever taught that complex throw variation to the young beginner. Ji-hoon remembers when he used to study match videos on his notebook, focused on analyzing each of his opponent's tactics. The coach praises the student's dedication and says that studying recordings of old fights is an excellent habit in the sport. The master smiles satisfied but warns seriously that there is a very important detail he needs to keep in mind now. He explains that rivals don't fight like they do in the books, and that analysis is only a weapon, but not the answer to everything. Ji-hoon understands the master's words and realizes the rookie's body simply acted on instinct before his mind did. He finally understands the true meaning of the word variable that his captain had used in the previous conversation. The young man with glasses wonders if the improvised technique the rookie just applied on the mat is indeed a real move. Jaehyun gives a wide and excited smile upon discovering that his instinctive move is a legitimate and very stylish technique. Ji-hoon mentally admits he doesn't like improvisations, but decides it's better to analyze the boy more calmly in training. He warns Junam that the executed move has a high risk of injury and tells her to teach him the complete and correct technique. Jaehyun thinks the name of the move is incredible, and Ji-hoon mentions that training is over for today because of tomorrow's commitment. The rookie complains, saying they hardly trained at all today, and provocatively asks if the veteran is already tired of them. Ji-hoon sighs irritably at the provocation and questions if the boy has perhaps forgotten what is going to happen tomorrow. On Saturday morning, the students travel on the bus dejectedly, complaining about having to train together on the weekend. Boys feel sick during the long trip and complain about the nausea caused by the constant swaying of the vehicle on the road. The coach from the other school tells them to shut up and demands they give their best to defeat their strong rivals. One of the students raises his hand and retorts to the coach, saying proudly that he is not part of the group defeated in the tournament. He laughs confidently, commenting that their master is too humble and that there are no reasons for concern today. The boy mocks the opponents, saying they are just slow, while Taeyong quietly arrives, getting his attention. His teammates tease Taeyong, saying he turned into a fool for chasing after girls, and wish him luck in the reunion. The students from the other school continue to mock in a very mean way, while the rookie listens to the insults irritably. They comment that at least the girls from that judo club are better and keep laughing loudly from inside the bus. The lazy guy with the hair bun mentions with a laugh that he will personally take care of those idiots. As soon as they arrive at the place, the boy named Kwon Jaeum displays a cold and very dangerous look, showing himself to be an extremely arrogant opponent. The leader of the group tells his teammate to shut up and relax a bit as the trip continues peacefully down the empty road. The cocky boy just shrugs, silently agreeing with his captain in a very mocking and indifferent way. In the gym, the students explain to Jaeyeon that the coaches from the two schools are old friends and train together. They say Seogwang High has become a true powerhouse in judo, revealing excellent athletes lately. His friend asks for Jaeyeon's weight class and reveals that their best athlete also fights in the same 81 kilogram category. The rookie asks if the boy is really talented, and his teammate replies that saying he's just good is an understatement. He explains that this boy has dominated the category since Taeyong stopped caring about his own records. The teammate warns seriously that the opponent is extremely aggressive and advises Jaeyeon to avoid him if he can. The rookie is confused by the warning, but his training partner freezes in fear upon realizing the rivals just entered the room. Heavy steps echo across the mat while a very cocky and mocking voice greets the group in a rude way. The rival mocks the athlete's faces while Taeyong remains lying down using his calm sleep mask. The noisy group from Seogwang High walks imposingly and lazily across the main mat of the sports gym. Jaeyeon follows the rivals' triumphant entrance closely, keeping his serious gaze focused on the new training opponents. Kwon Jaeum approaches with a mean smirk and asks if they are already ready to be crushed there. Jaeyeon stares at him in absolute silence, while his training partner whispers in fear, asking who this weird guy is. The other students continue talking loudly in the background, ignoring the absurd tension that begins to build on the mat. Junam notices the rivals' cocky behavior and turns a serious look toward the big mess that is forming. The troublemaker kicks the bench very loudly next to Taeyong and calls him a complete idiot without any hesitation. He looks down in an extremely mocking way at his in the gi and asks cynically if he is still alive there. Taeyong lifts his sleep mask, very irritated by the noise, and complains angrily, saying the boy is too loud. The provocateur questions if he doesn't get tired of following his girlfriend everywhere, like he's a mangy little dog. Jaeum continues insulting his rival with mockery, but Junam interrupts him, asking sharply if he brought companions. Taeyong warns dryly that, if he only came for the judo training, he should focus on the exercises and stop talking nonsense. The bully laughs meanly and threatens to deliver a Kawakor's blow to his opponent's lying leg to see if his bones break. At the last second, a quick sweep appears to block the boy's mean kick, startling everyone who was watching the scene. Jaeyeon's foot hits the base of the rival's mean kick with great precision, preventing the cowardly attack in a sensational way. The troublemaker is completely amazed and surprised by that fast and unexpected reaction that stopped his mean attack. Taeyong complains about the rookie's attitude, but the boy remains firm in front of his rival, showing a very challenging posture. Jaeyeon gets even by mocking him meanly, and jokes that his foot simply moved on its own to block the blow. Taeyong sighs irritably for having fallen for a silly provocation, while the rookie complains that he should have been smarter. Kwon Jae-im laughs a lot at the boy's nerve and is amused to realize the rivals are much more interesting than he thought. Junam observes the rivals in an extremely irritated way given the heavy atmosphere the group just created inside the gym. She narrows her golden eyes in a threatening way and decides that if they want to fight outside the rules, she will fight too. Their coach intervenes and warns that wasting strength for no reason before the official judo training begins is utter foolishness. The bully complains that they ruined his fun, but the leader warns coldly that he must wait for the official training. He turns his back, grumbling loudly in frustration, while the athletes from Inhai stare at him with much hatred in their eyes. Jaeon complains that they started the trouble and tried to run away, but Junam yells, telling the bully to stop right where he is. She categorically demands that the boy offer a sincere apology for the cowardly and disrespectful provocation he just made. He mocks the request, saying that if the truth hurt their feelings, then he apologizes in a very mocking way. Kwon Jae-im proposes to settle things fairly and demands to know if his teammate has permission to kick the rookie. The smaller teammate with green hair shows a mean and piercing look, ready to move toward physical aggression there. The judo coach enters the gym shouting happily upon seeing the students gathered, assuming they are just talking. He orders all the athletes to take their proper places on the main mat to begin today's activities. The dangerous athlete from the rival school stares at Ji-in absolute silence and takes his firm reaction as a definitive yes. Ji-in is extremely revolted by their cynicism and asks irritably who on earth these arrogant troublemakers are. The judo master claps his hands and orders the joint training to begin once and for all under that morning's strong and bright sun. The joint training begins, and the athletes go to schools start practicing basic throws, counting out loud. The activity serves to test skills and correct the weak points of each one through the exchange of experiences. However, the friendly atmosphere lasts a very short time when one of the athletes from the rival school applies a violent chokehold. Feeling great pain and unable to breathe, the student from Inhai taps several times on the mat, asking to stop. The boy stands up coughing a lot and complains that he tapped more than 10 times, indicating surrender before being choked out. The aggressor just laughs mockingly, offering fake apologies, and pretends he just got too carried away during the activity. For Xiaoguang Hai, the idea of a peaceful and friendly Junli training session is something practically impossible to happen. Despite having a short history in the sport, the rival school adopted an extremely aggressive stance in its training. They gathered very talented athletes from all over the country, focusing only on brute force to win judo championships. Since the group was formed only aiming for results by force, each fighter's personality there is very different. Instead of acting as a united team, they are just individuals sharing the same mat and competing against each other. Jae-im disdains the level of the opponents and comments sharply that he thought the rookie would be different, but he's just a fool. Ji-in bites his lips in so much anger, while Junam grumbles low, irritated by that guy's boundless arrogance. The other athlete from the rival school laughs out loud upon noticing that the renowned Inhai also accepts white belt beginners. Ji-in is silent for a brief moment, as he suddenly remembers a very important detail about his friend. He worriedly realizes that his friend Jaemin, who studies at the rival school, is nowhere to be found in that sports gym. The protagonist questions out loud where the other white belt from their team is, making the atmosphere in the place tense. The girl from the opposing team laughs, meanly upon realizing the rookie is looking for his old school friend. Kwon Jae-im interrupts with a cynical smile on his face and reveals very coldly that the boy is currently in the hospital. Jae-in and Ji-Yunam are completely in shock at the revelation, while the aggressor confirms the young man was hospitalized. Junam asks, very startled, what the reason was for the boy to end up in the hospital so suddenly and seriously. The bully rests his hand on his face in a mean way and asks mockingly for what reason she thinks the boy ended up there. He gives a very cynical smile and insinuates that the fault of his friend's hospitalization lies in his own old weaknesses and cowardice. Taken by an uncontrollable rage, Jaehyun quickly advances and grabs the rival's uniform collar with extreme force. Holding his opponent, he demands to know with a chilling glare if he was the coward responsible for hurting his friend.